everybody, and welcome back to our channel where we explore in the ancient wisdom of geomancy and its relevance to our modern lives. So if you're passionate about spiritual growth, alternative healing, and connecting to the Earth's energies, you're in the right place. But before we dive in, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with our content. So what are we here to talk about today? Today, we're delving into the fascinating world of geopathic stress. Now, this is a crucial aspect of geomancy, and it really affects our well-being and the spaces that we inhabit. So, geopathic stress can arise from a variety of sources. So, just as we ourselves can have emotional trauma or physical trauma or just bad memories and pleasant memories and other things as well, places hold memory in its energetic blueprint on the etheric layer. So some of these memories obviously will be great and we don't have to worry about those. They can really enhance our spaces. But what we're worried about is the stressed memories. So what kind of things causes this? Well, the first thing is sort of like human mental energy residues. So we're talking about places like battle sites, places of despair, places of displacement. So there can be battles, land clearances, sites of plague or disease, car crashes, plane crashes, rapes, mental institutions, prisons, anything where people have felt, as I say, despair, fear, anger, really not necessarily negative emotions, but things in their extreme that have, left a really uncomfortable imprint in their place. So the first one that we look for is human mental energy residues. And I would say also we have to be mindful, but they may not have occurred exactly on the site that we're looking for, because this energy travels down the energy grid. So if you know anything about energy lays or ley lines, you know there's like a grid network, like a big net around the Earth, and these energies can travel. So to give you an example, I once worked with a client who was experiencing a lot of uncomfortable things happening in their house. There was lots of things just not going right. Their business wasn't thriving. People sort of kept getting on and off ill, and there had been some serious illness which they didn't disclose to me when I first went in. So I did some dowsing and I did looked at like an energy map of the whole area. So the farmhouse was here and I got a bigger map and looked at the surroundings, and I found from my dowsing and sort of looking at the energy that I can see on a map that something had occurred at a couple of miles away from their house. There was this negative energy sat in the landscape, and an energy line went through it. And after it went through this site, rather than being a straight line of energy, like a piece of dry spaghetti, the line was all convoluted and twisted, like a piece of cooked spaghetti that had just been chucked up in the air and dropped on the floor. It was all tangled and knotted up at a point, and then it sort of straightened out again and then came through this house. But after that convolution, the energy in the energy lay had changed property. So rather than being beneficial to humans as it had been before, it was actually now detrimental. And as I sat in their house doing this dowsing, I felt this strong pain sort of in my kidney area, particularly on the right hand side. So intense that I said to the client, I said, has anybody in this house got kidney problems? Because I'm feeling this really intently. And he said, well, this actually used to be my mother's house, and she's had cancer in her kidneys. And I said, do you know which one it was? And he actually rang her up and he said, yeah, it was the right kidney. So it was just, I could feel it in that it was impacting certain areas of certain people who were more sensitive to this energy. So it's not necessarily our house itself or our, our farm or our yard or our garden has got stuff in it. This mental energy it travels down the energy grid, because part of the function of some of the energy lines, they're like a conduit for human intention. And that's great when we're putting direct and active good intention down them, that we're doing it consciously. But in times of crisis, fear, and all sorts of things, we can accidentally send negative energy down this grid line. And this is why A regular habit of clearing the energy in your home, your environment is so important because we're not in control of what happens outside of our property or in other areas. So having a regular practice of cleaning the energy, smudging your home, or, you can use crystals, you can talk to the spirit of place. You may have to put certain objects on energy lines to using stones or something similar to transmute that energy. So the line anchors the negative, the stone wouldn't anchor the line down, and then the negative energy dissipates into the ground. So there's lots of things we can do for this, but it's really important to be aware that human mental energy residues lie all over the place in our landscape. Now, one of the other things we look for geopathic stress is actually physical changes in the landscape. So activities like quarrying and mining and construction. So when we put in huge new railways or put up huge new buildings, we cut down loads of trees and we just, really make big changes to the landscape where it's raw and digging in and, as I say, quarrying, mining, big disruption. They can all disrupt the natural energies of a site. So the site can sort of become stressed because of this activity. So if we are going to do any building work ourselves, for instance, maybe you want to build your own home, it's really important to talk to the spirit of place first and literally tell it, I would like this ground for some building. I'm letting you know that I'm going to be putting a construction here to reside in. So this place is now going to become a place for human habitation rather than empty pasture land or whatever it may have been. So we negotiate that process with the spirit of place so that the nature consciousnesses are aware of our plans and we can have a relationship with them as this thing goes on. And then we're also looking for inappropriate natural energies. That's the third thing we look for. Now you might say, well, how can natural energies that are naturally occurring be inappropriate? But it just means that the natural energies of a site are not suitable for its current use. So if you've got a place that wants to be calm, let's say you want a retreat centre in the countryside and you want to have yoga retreats in and you want to do gong baths and you want it all, lovely and calm. What you don't want is it to be on a site that's got high levels of certain energy, what we would call yang energy in Feng Shui, but the masculine energy lines, certain vibrations of energy lines in the geomagnetic spectrum, or things like moon lines, which are energy lines that work with the moon, but they can be particularly hard to live on. So you don't want those kind of things when you want this kind of nice, calm, healthy environment. Conversely, if you've got somewhere where you want to be productive, activity, a workspace, or some building, office building, or a productive building where things need to be done and we need to be focused and we need to be going for it. We don't want energy that just lays us out going, oh, I feel so zen, but I just can't lift a finger. That's not the right energy either. It's not that it's necessarily stress, it's just inappropriate for the use. And this is why it's really useful to do a geomantic survey of the energy before you build somewhere, before you decide what rooms you're going to be using for what in your home, because it's quite important that the natural energies of a site are used appropriately. This is at the heart of geomancy. This is why ancient cities and citadels and villages are structured how they are. That we've got a sacred space and then we've got the site of habitation, and we don't put certain buildings over underground water. We don't put certain buildings in the path of energy lays because it would just be inappropriate. So we're just taking this same knowledge, we're just applying it to modern life. And the fourth thing we look for, so number one was human mental energy residues. Number two was physical changes in the landscape. Number three is just inappropriate natural energies for what we're trying to do with the site. And number four is sick building syndrome. So this is still very valid today. This would include things like poor air quality, inadequate lighting, poor light quality, sound pollution, and electromagnetic stress. And you might think that sick building syndrome is just, fantasy and made up, but actually, it's not. We now know that everything from flame retardant spray on fabric to paints. Our built environment is extremely important for our well-being. Have the right quality lights, blue, green in the day, red, orange for night to encourage sleep. There is so much about our built environment that can send sort of our biological rhythms out of kilter if we're not careful. So those are the 4 things that we actually look for. So how do we do this? Well, one of the key skills you learn when you're learning geomancy, Western geomancy this is the art of dowsing. So dowsing is an ancient practice that helps us to detect and address these energy imbalances. So we want to be able to use a pendulum, which could be anything. It could be wherever I put the pendulum. It could be just as simple as a nut on a string, or it could be one of these. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. It can be a pendulum like that, or it can be, excuse me, I'll move across the desk. It can be something as simple as a nut on a piece of cotton. But what we do is we use dowsing, and it's, as I say, it's an ancient practice that helps us detect and address these energy sites. So we can use dowsing to select healthy sites. We learn how to choose locations that support our well-being. So if you're moving house, you can use dowsing to check the energy of the house you're thinking of moving into. If you're going to be constructing a house, you can check that the site is suitable for habitation or amenable to habitation. There's something that you can do that the spirit of place is okay where you are, that you living there. And we can look at what space is good for what things. So what spaces have really active energy that are going to be productive. So let's say I work from home and I want a workspace where I make candles, then I want that space to be productive and energetic. I don't want it to be so laid back that I can't actually do anything and I struggle to think and I can't look at my orders coming in and make my candles and dispatch them and put the right postage labels on them. I need to be able to think. So we want the right energy for that. So we can, work out what needs to be where. Again, much like our ancestors did, this space is suitable for a sacred site. This space is suitable for habitation. This is where our homes are. This is where our workshops are. This is where we keep our animals. So it's about selecting the healthy site that supports our well-being and productivity for what we're going to be using that area for. We want to make sure that our activities are in sync with the natural energies, not necessarily trying to change them at all. We also want to identify those geomantic problems that I looked at. We want to make sure that we've got no geopathic stress in terms of human energy. The 4 things that we just mentioned: no human energy, no sort of physical change in the landscape that could be affecting us, no sick building syndrome, and no sort of distressed nature spirits, anything that might have occurred. So we want to identify all those geomantic problems, and we can use dowsing to work out whether there is something that we can actually do about them. And if we can do something about them, what is the action that we need to take? So we can use dowsing to select healthy sites, identify any problems, and implement healing techniques. So this is really the key of geomancy. It's understanding earth energies, it's diagnosing problems, and it is implementing healing techniques, or, and that healing might be something action, but it's also might be just where and how you use the site. So we can use dowsing to implement, to start with, basic techniques to heal and harm the energy in our environment. And that might be anything from using sound to balance frequencies of energies. It might be using sort of more gentle treatments like homeopathy for the garden, homeopathy for ourselves. It might be using paramagnetic rocks to move energy lines or earth energy lines. It might be using water features. So we can look at the way, Feng Shui balances out, which obviously Feng Shui is the Eastern form of geomancy. I practice the Western form of geomancy. So I look at the sort of electromagnetic spectrum, the sound spectrum, underground water and any positive ions it emits, light quality. And of course, all these things are conscious. So actually, when we start to work with them, we might initially see them as just a sort of unconscious energy form. But the more you work with them, the more you almost start to have conversations with them about this is what I want to do with the site. And we can change the quality of water. We can, almost create microclimates over farms. Well, we can create microclimates over farms and small holdings. We can have better crop yield, better animal health. There is so much we can do with this work because we're actually aligning ourselves with the natural cosmic forces of creation. So we can, anything from a gardening project, we can make that come to full fruition, to an idea or a project that we want to engage with for our own personal benefit. We can make that come to fruition as well. So, there's so much we can do with geomantic techniques. So we understanding earth energies, we want to learn about geopathic stress, and then we want to learn really how to heal it. And that's really the three things. But this week we've concentrated more on sort of what actually is geopathic stress, and how can I balance it out so that it's no longer affecting me, my family, pets, and anything else that might be living in your space. Because these things, as we've seen from that little story that I gave you, these things can have a big effect on us. And I'm not saying that geopathic stress caused that lady's problems, but it could have been a contributing factor to her illness. There are many factors to consider: her own relationship with space, any life lessons and soul lessons that she was supposed to learn within that space. So there are many lessons we can look at, but we are in an intimate relationship with the energy in our environment. We absorb it and it takes our energy. So we're in a relationship with space and place, just as we are a relationship with other people. It's just a non-verbal relationship. We get angry and the space takes the brunt of our anger. It gets other influences coming in from outside and we can feel them. So we're in a constant feedback loop with energy in our environment. And this energy of things like water and light, it externally impacts the water and light in our own body. This water, and light, it's our route into quantum consciousness. The sort of elements and factors and geometry of our own body are a tool to access all these quantum conscious layers so that we can talk to something more than ourselves, the universe, God, consciousness, whatever you wish to call it, but that we can talk to something bigger than ourselves and get real guidance from our soul and the wider cosmos. So learning to check for imbalances in your environment that could potentially be preventing you from thriving mentally, emotionally, physically is one of the core things that we teach in Geomancy. So if you're ready to learn more, if you're ready to embark on this transformative journey and really harness the power of Geomancy to heal the earth and yourself, you can join me for a free 5-day Earth Energy Masterclass, which starts on the 24th of February and runs to the 28th. All you have to do is click the link below to secure your spot. Thank you for watching. And remember to like and subscribe for more insights into the world of geomancy. So I hope together in this changing dynamic world of shifting power bases and creating a new paradigm of human reality, I hope we can create a more harmonious and conscious connection with our planet that supports you. And I'd love to invite you on that journey with me. So I will see you in the next video.